Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. The SEC has won yet again, yes, twice in one day. We've got two separate rulings from Judge Netburn. The last one I covered in my very last video. Now, in this case, this is actually really particularly interesting because the SEC, the judge ended up finding that the SEC conducted itself improperly. Despite that being the case, the judge ruled on the side of the SEC, and it has to do with information which is rather important to this case. And there's going to be fallout from this for a number of reasons we'll get through as I run through all the content that will be in this video. But no, this is ridiculous. Expert discovery has been reopened as a result of this. My friends, expert discovery was supposed to be completed last year. It's April 2022, and today we got word that expert discovery has been reopened. Now, it's limited in scope, but still, damn. It's not fact discovery. At least fact discovery is not reopened, but expert discovery is indeed reopened. So I'll share with you all the reasons why and what's going on here, all of the ridiculousness. But before going further, I do want to be clear that I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Shout out to James Filan, XRP community member and attorney, who shared the most recent legal filing, and I did, hear this, got some dead trees in my hands. I highlighted a couple parts that I found to be particularly interesting, including the part where the judge notes that the SEC conducted itself improperly, which is a direct quote. So what's actually being covered here? Well, there was a report that was created by a Dr. Metz. Now, Dr. Metz was paid by the SEC to write a report that concluded that the price of XRP is reliant upon Ripple. So another way of saying that, in order for XRP to do well, and in fact for it to have risen as high as it has even lately, it's because of Ripple. And without Ripple, it would be worth nowhere near what it is. And Dr. Metz, so he was paid $600 an hour, and this report that he came out with was over 100 pages. And one of the conclusions that he came to in this report, it's incredible how absurd this is. And I remember I did report on this at the time when this news was breaking. He actually argued that if not for XRP, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. If not for Ripple, the price of XRP would barely have ever gone above 2 cents. I kid you not. The rest of the market moving in tandem, but he actually argued that XRP would not have gone much above 2 cents, if ever, without the efforts of Ripple. Completely absurd. Having been in the space for over 4 years, I've noted many times that there are people that have been pointing out over that time period, why hasn't XRP been moving up in price given all of the incredible developments with XRP being positioned as a bridge currency, this and that? And there's a long way to answer, but just to be brief here, because that's not the purpose of this video, it's because this is an immature market, and unfortunately, it's just part of the process. Each crypto is more or less being treated the same. Yes, there are people like myself and perhaps you listening to this that care about fundamentals, but not enough people do. If enough people did, then yeah, okay, every cryptocurrency would move independently. But even then, there's all sorts of other moving parts surrounding the XRP ecosystem. So it's not that Ripple could just control it. What happens with the price of XRP anyway? To be clear, I'm not making that point. I was just talking about the nascency of the asset class. But even setting all of that aside, it's provably the case that the market moves in tandem. So Ripple, they actually ended up hiring their own expert witnesses who reviewed the analysis of Dr. Metz, Dr. Albert Metz, and they said, wow, this is a heaping pile of garbage. Now I'm paraphrasing there, but they found that Dr. Albert Metz, in the creation of his report, used a flawed methodology. And the two experts that Ripple hired just vehemently opposed this, and they don't seem to think that it makes sense to even have it considered as evidence, frankly. Like it's that bad. Now, upon that rebuke from Ripple's expert witnesses, Dr. Albert Metz filed a second report, a supplemental report to argue new things. So that's part of what was problem, because that's outside the scope of what is allowed. And interestingly enough, in the ruling today, the Judge Netburn, admitted as much, which is why I was still kind of surprised that she acknowledged, yeah, you weren't supposed to do this. So when she's talking about the poor conduct here, inappropriate conduct, however she worded it, that's what she was talking about. You weren't even allowed to do this, SEC. Submit this from Dr. Metz. No, there was no invitation to do that. But she allowed it anyway because she thought that to preclude it, and you'll see as we go through the specifics, if she were to preclude it, that would cause even more harm. So she let this, however inappropriate, to be submitted. So the defendants Ripple didn't want the supplemental report to be submitted. It was outside of the time frame, and it wasn't allowed anyway. But the judge says, no, it's going to be submitted. Okay, well, we'll see what happens here. A little bit surprised on that, but it is what it is. So jumping into this thing, and again, there are just a couple parts that I highlighted that I think are worth reading. Cite here. Well, actually, you know what? I will cover this. I didn't highlight this, but it's worth mentioning it. This is page 1 on your screen, this 5-page document. Notes here. I don't need to read this, but I do want to note what's on the first page. Expert discovery was originally to end August 16th, 2021. August 16th, 2021, and then that was extended. It was extended to January 14th, and then to February 28th of this year. And now it's extended yet again. I believe it's May 13th of this year. Extended yet again. It's just ridiculous. So let me jump down to, where did I have highlighted here? Oh, page 2. And this part I kind of enjoyed, because it's kind of like a little bit of a smackdown, even though the SEC got their way, and that is kind of disappointing. There was a little bit of a smackdown here, so I think it's the bottom of, no, I went too far. Bottom of page 2 here. Yeah, here we go. She wrote the following. Experts are not free to continually bolster, strengthen, or improve their reports by endlessly researching the issues they already opined upon, or to continually supplement their opinions. If an expert's report does not rely on any information that was previously unknown or unavailable to him, it is not an appropriate supplemental report, end quote. And part of what it was highlighted here is, as far as information being available, so what happened was Dr. Metz addressed stuff, the points that were brought up by the 2 expert witnesses hired by Ripple, but all of the points that were covered there, had Dr. Metz wanted to, he could have discussed those, not knowing necessarily what the rebuke would have been from those 2. That's not the point. Information available, the points being made, he actually could have cited those. He could have talked about those topics, and he ended up not doing it. So then for him to come back and say, okay, well, here I want to add some information. The judge actually made clear in this report that she actually doesn't find that particular part of the argument to be compelling, but it wasn't enough to sway her to go in another direction. And then if we go down to page 4, where are we? Here we go. Here's page 4. And I'm going to cover just the bottom portion of this. Judge Netburn wrote the following. Overall, given the harshness of preclusion, I decline to strike Dr. Metz's supplemental report. Instead, expert discovery is reopened until May 13th, 2022 for the limited purposes of, number 1, redeposing Dr. Metz regarding the analysis of his supplemental report limited to 4 hours, and number 2, at defendant's discretion, filing a supplemental report responding to the new analysis. However, the SEC has conducted itself improperly by serving an unauthorized supplemental report on the last day of discovery. Yeah, pause. I didn't mention that until this point. That second extension of expert discovery, because again, it was originally August, then January, and then February. Well, this report was submitted on the last day of that section, the second extension of expert discovery, the very last day. That's like a trend with the SECs. Do everything last minute. Like when Jay Clayton's on his way out the door, let's go ahead and sue Ripple. Did he wake up that morning and flip a coin? Tails, we sue Ripple. Heads, we don't. Did he wake up and say something like that? I'd love to do this crap last minute here. Anyway, and then she also wrote, accordingly, pursuant to Rule 37 in the court's inherent powers, the SEC is ordered to pay defendants reasonable expenses in filing their motion to strike and redeposing Dr. Metz. the parties' prior agreement that each side shall cover the costs of their own expert's time shall control. Accordingly, the SEC shall also cover the costs of Dr. Met's time. So there you go. Not only is expert witness the discovery here, this process reopened, they're going to have to redepose Dr. Metz, so he's going to have to speak under oath again, and he's going to have to be paid for that. And then Ripple's going to have a response. Well, they're going to have a response. They don't have to, but they're going to have a response. That's going to take time and money, and the SEC has to pay for this. And so you might think, and I would agree, it's good that the SEC has to pay for this and not Ripple, but I'm also sitting here thinking, that's just more taxpayer dollars. So I'm thinking that as well, but still, it's not fair to Ripple. So of course, given the arrangement here, that part does seem perfectly reasonable. I'm glad that portion is happening here. But isn't this ridiculous to have that portion of Discovery reopened, back to having Dr. Metz deposed, having to write up new reports and all this, and just to tear back down with Ripple's expert witnesses? Man, it's a bit much. This is I don't know that it's going to change anything in the end, so it shouldn't matter. And I don't see any indication that, although there's an extension here, I haven't seen from anyone in our community, the attorneys within our community, any sort of indication that this is going to change the timeline for the rest. Like, basically, Judge Knepper does seem to believe too, and she indicated as much. I just didn't read those portions. She thinks that given the pace of how things have gone, I know it is what it is. Given the pace of how things have unfolded to this point, including how things pertain to Discovery, that there's no reason that this should result in an additional extension in any deadlines that are currently set, effectively. I'm like, well, there's been enough delays so far anyway, so we'll see. Really grinds my gears, folks. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.